Kendall, let's talk about this Knicks thing. According to most reports, the Knicks are set to name CAA agent Leon Rose as its new president of basketball operations.
Yes.
It was awesome because I was reminded today that Leon Rose is a white man. Because
Yo, everyone keeps saying that.
I googled him at work, and I work at a New York station, New York news station, and of course this news broke, so we were trying to get on air, and I was trying to find a picture of Leon Rose, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, he looks like that.
Yeah, he's Jewish.
um,
I'm sure, and people kept saying that. I'm like, I mean, obviously, like, look, I'm a an agent, NBA agent, like I don't say expert, but that is an interest of mine.
yeah, you follow this stuff.
I follow stuff.
Yeah.
So like for me, it wasn't a surprise. You know, I to be honest, Leon Rose's name did not come up in my mind as someone who could run the Knicks. We heard, I mentioned Rich Paul months ago.
Yeah.
And then people started to mention his name yesterday. We heard Rich Kleiman's name. We heard Austin Brown from CAA.
Yeah.
We've heard almost every agent, but Leon Rose, which honestly he should have been the first person we mentioned. So
yeah,
I didn't think of him, and no one thought of him.
Yeah, it's crazy because this makes total sense. Like,
yeah, from a business standpoint, it's obvious.
And just like a common sense, like, oh yeah, like if they were going to go this route, of course Leon Rose would be the guy they hired.
Right.
If you remember the Melo era when the Knicks were semi decent, when they were going to the playoffs, when they were again the one year they had the second best record in the East. There was, especially when things started to turn sour, especially this actually prompted Phil Jackson becoming the president. There became this kind of innuendo, and maybe even not even innuendo. It was kind of starting to just be reported, but definitely there was at the very least innuendo and rumors about how CAA essentially was running amok at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, when Joe called the CAA Knicks.
Yeah, that it was influencing player decisions. Player personnel decisions, coaching decisions. Mike Woodson was represented by CAA. The best players were represented by CAA. Some of the guys they were bringing in, all the guys they brought in also were all repping CAA. And it was word that they had the agency because all your players on the team, you get to get kind of a run of the place a little bit. So if the word was that Dolan was very much, James Dolan, owner of the Knicks, was very much influenced by the model that had been set up by the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers. Bob Myers, the current, he was a general manager. I think he is now the president.
Yes.
But previously a GM, but now the president of the Golden State Warriors.
The Washington guy.
He was a sports agent at one point before he got the job. Never had NBA front office experience. Rob Pelinka, was famously the great Kobe Bryant's God rest his soul. He was his agent and had been an NBA agent for a long time before he got the Laker job. Very close ties to the Lakers because of that relationship. And Dolan saw that those two success stories and thought maybe that's the route I should go because going after Masai Ujiri will likely cost me draft picks and cost me time that he didn't want to waste. We can get into why he didn't want to waste that time because to me it's very simple why he didn't want to waste that time, and it's kind of alarming. But that's where we get to Rose, which is if you're going to do that, and the last time he had any kind of success, CAA already had probably too much power over the Knicks. Why wouldn't he just go back to that well and just give it all to them? That's actually kind of logical in his mind. Like I don't think that's crazy. If you look at that and say, okay, they're doing it this way. Last time we were decent, CAA had a lot of power here. The top guy at CAA has great relationships amongst people in the NBA. He's a big time player. And the Worldwide West is his muscle. Let's bring him in too. Why wouldn't you do that? Like I get it. I think some of the concerns I've heard. Well, one, no basketball experience. So we've seen that doesn't necessarily mean that this can't work, but it doesn't make me feel better. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make you like just because it's worked for other people. Yeah, but this is the Knicks. So
yeah, this isn't politics. This isn't like we need an outsider.
Right.
That's not a positive in basketball.
And in
To
fact,
get a guy who knows nothing about basketball.
and
I'm
in,
not saying Leon Rose knows nothing, but to get a guy who has no experience running a basketball organization to say that he has no experience and that's a good thing, that's not a thing.
and in fact, you could make the argument that the Knicks, for a long time, have never really respected getting the pure basketball scout lifer guy in that role. Isaiah Thomas, Phil Jackson, Steve Mills, even the last guys that have, the only guy that was in that role during when Grunwald was the GM, they didn't have a president, but the only guys that have filled that role, they've kind of been what I keep saying has been my issue with the Knicks. Not only most of the time in their head coaching hires, but also definitely in their front office hires, they've been getting these celebrities. They've been getting the guy that that's gonna wow people and get people talking, and and all those guys I just named, all respected basketball minds. I mean, none of those guys are guys who I would look and say, that guy doesn't know anything about basketball. He's just a celebrity. Like, those guys also know the game, but like all guys that there was this other thing about them. It was like, they can attract free agents, or players will respect them because they've played a long time, or they were a Hall of Fame head coach, or they've been an executive at Madison Square Garden for all these years, and they have all these business connections and ties to the city. Like, all these different things were supposed to be reasons why.
Even Donnie Walsh was like kind of he wasn't a Hall of Fame, but like a legendary, executive.
Yeah, and he was probably closer to that basketball thing, but even that guy, even him was like, okay, big name, even if he is a basketball guy. Like, I look at the guys that have been having success outside of those examples, the Warriors and Lakers, where I get to why I think looking to them is a little problematic. I'm looking at Masai Ujiri, dude over in Denver.
Tim Connolly.
Daryl Morey. I'm looking at guys that are either scout background or analytics background. So, and the fact that the Knicks haven't really embraced either for the last 15 years has always bothered me a little bit.
But does it not surprise you, given Dolan's the way he likes to operate?
So here's why. That gets me to the problematic part, Kendall. It's a great question. The problematic part I have about this is this was easy for him to do, which is why he did it, which is why this is a little concerning, though I'm not going to panic and say this can't work. But when your motivations and when your motivations are questionable, that could sometimes lead to questionable results. And to me, this is very clear. This guy cannot stand people coming to his building yelling, "Sell the team," while he's sitting front court, court side. And people. It's easy for people who don't have that role and don't have 20,000 million people yelling at you, cursing you, whatever. They say, "Oh, get fixed in. You're a billionaire." Nobody wants to deal with that. Come on, let's be real. If I was that person, I'd feel really terrible too. Now, maybe how I and other people would handle it would be different, and that's where you can maybe criticize him. But the idea that would make you feel really terrible and maybe cloud your judgment is also not insane, not crazy. No other team has that happening, where people are chanting "sell the team" every time you show up. So that's real. So with I think based on what I was hearing and the reporting that was happening, I think the Knicks absolutely, if they wanted Masai Ujiri, he would be the president of the Knicks. The problem was it was going to take February, March, April, May. Maybe, I don't think it'll be June, but I don't know. Who knows how far the Raptors will go. And then you got to get permission. And then you got to
break the bank.
Probably give up draft. Yeah, break the bank. And then you probably got to give up draft picks because he has a year left on his contract. That's a lot of time and money and angst for someone who's emotional and who acts on his emotions like James Dolan. That's a long time to be sitting there uncomfortable. You're a billionaire, you make as much money as James Dolan, you don't want to be uncomfortable. James Dolan can be comfortable every second of his life if he wants to. That's why he never shows his face anywhere that he's not liked, except for Madison Square Garden when the Knicks are playing. He has that access. That's the money he has. Do you think he wants to be uncomfortable for 5 months, waiting around, people calling about him saying, "What the hell are you doing? You're not going to get it done." You show up to the game to support your team. They say sell the team. He ain't gonna waste time with that. Just like when them people were trying to do a picket line outside of Madison Square Garden 3 or 4 years ago. What did he do? The next day he hired Phil Jackson. We clearly know that the judgment there wasn't the best, clearly, because of how Phil Jackson's mind state was at that point, and his philosophy of building a basketball team. Clearly, that was not the right way to go. But it was quick and it was easy. Here's $60 million, fix my team, and make these people shut up. And guess what? That protest that was planned, it didn't happen. And James Dolan now saying, well, I can't wait that long. I got to get someone now. I got to get something that's interesting, something that I can point to and say this has a measure of success. Well, look at the Lakers and Warriors. Those teams are doing great. This guy is a much bigger name agent than those other guys. So this has got to work. Like it's kind of easy to sell to the fan base, and will probably get the hounds off of him just a little bit. So that's why he did it, in my opinion. That concerns me because my thing is, this was a really quick hire. What was Leon Rose's pitch to you? What was that? How many people did you interview? Apparently, they said he was doing interviews. Mills got fired like 10 minutes ago. How many interviews did you really do? How much grunt work, how much research did you really do to hire a president a day later or 2 days later? I have questions. And it doesn't mean it won't work. It doesn't mean that Leon Rose won't be the guy that saves the Knicks. I'm not saying that's not the case. But those parameters, those potential motivations, they concern me a little bit.
So look, we've heard that Dolan has had music mogul Steve Stout, kind of in his ear. You know, we've talked about for the last couple months. You know, Dolan must have somebody's ear, a shadow GM, a shadow advisor who's telling him stuff. And basically, we've heard over the last week that it's been this dude Steve Stout.
I can't believe it's Steve Stout, but I can because it's the Knicks.
It's so bizarre, right?
It's crazy.
It's so bizarre, but honestly, like, you know, and Dolan, he's a brand consultant. You know, he's worried about the brand of James Dolan, the brand of the New York Knicks. So I think it's interesting how, because the question people are wondering is why, because we always try to find ways to make the Knicks look dumb. You know, it's on some level the Knicks mess up in all aspects. For some people. So the question those people are having is, all right, you want to hire Leon Rose? We can't pick apart that hire just yet because we got to see how it plays out. But why do that now? Literally, why hire him the day of the trade deadline and put yourself in a position where now you're trading guys? You don't know what Leon Rose wants. You know, you have a GM who knows he's not going to be there, making calls. You don't really have a president of basketball operations tied down. Like, it's just an awkward timeline. Now you're rushing everything. And you end up, I mean, the trade down, we'll talk about that later, what the Knicks ended up with. But it wasn't a splash, obviously. And I think a lot of that has to do with they didn't have a real, like, front office. But, so that's what people are wondering is why do it now? I think Dolan and Stout decided that after those sell the team remarks, they couldn't go forward with Steve Mills.
Which it's sad to me that that's what it took. Because there's a lot of evidence to tell you that this Steve Mills thing ain't gonna work out.
Yeah, that's what's foolish. But again, it's not about the results; it's about the image.
Mm-hmm.
And once Dolan realized that the image was irreparable at this point with this guy Steve Mills, they needed something to change his image. And so they figured, look, not only will we fire Mills, but we are going to hire someone immediately. Because if you go the rest of the year, all the way into June, that's a lot of time for people to continue to take pot shots at Dolan, take pot shots at the organization. Because you don't need a GM through the months of February to April if your team is as bad as the Knicks are. Mm-hmm. You just need somebody to get the ball rolling. Again, make the basic G League call up transactions, send down transactions. you don't need, and I mean, ideally you want somebody in place to get a structure ready, but like, and make phone calls for head coach and get their organization intact, but it's not a necessity. But again, it's an image thing. Now that leads me to my next thing. Why hire Leon Rose? And I mean, you mentioned obviously the connections Rose has with CAA, and obviously the connection the CAA has with the Knicks. And I think this goes to why they're looking at an agent. Now, one, obviously, I think Steve Stout is somebody that is going to be comfortable and recommend probably some of these types of people. I would imagine. I mean, we've seen Steve Stout on The Shot, so I wouldn't be shocked if Rich Paul was in the conversation as well. But
Stout has a very close relationship to the LeBron inner circle.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been established for a long time, which does make this interesting, which we'll probably get to, but continue.
But what I will say is, I think their thing with the agent goes back to the image thing, because I don't think that this is really that similar to the Warriors and Lakers thing. The Warriors, they did take a chance on Bob Myers, and they were they were trailblazers in taking that approach into hiring, an agent as a general manager. Bob Myers had actually has played,
yes,
so
exactly.
that certainly helps, and Rob Pelinka's played as well. But Rob Pelinka had such a close tie to the Lakers and Jeannie Buss and with Kobe. Yeah, I mean, and not to say that Leon Rose and Dolan don't have a relationship, but it's different. Mm-hmm. Like, Pelinka is a household name within the Lakers fan base.
Yeah, Pelinka. Yeah, I was gonna say Pelinka's like family to Jeannie and those people.
Yeah, exactly. So, it'd be, that's almost more akin to when the Knicks hired Phil Jackson. But, this seemed like a straight, we're going to hire the best agent. Like, it's more like what the Mets did with hiring Brody Van Wagner. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you think that's a good move or not is a whole nother conversation. Honestly, this would be like if a baseball team hired Scott Boras.
Yeah.
But, which Boras probably will never do because, he makes way.
That's a massive pay cut to be a GM.
Yeah, that's a massive pay cut.
The 10% he's getting on $300 million contracts? Nah, he ain't doing that.
He's not doing it.
Nah, he's good.
Ownership is a whole nother conversation. But
yeah.
But no, but my thing is, I think that they wanted an agent because think about how the Leon Rose hire has been taken by the media so far.
Pretty positive.
Pretty positive, right?
Yep.
Of course you're gonna have your detractors, but for the most part, the basketball media has been very positive. They've said we'll give it a chance. He's a well-connected guy. Leon's a smart guy. He's a smart basketball guy. A lot of these people know Leon Rose. Some of them don't, but some of them do. Do we think that? And I'm not accusing anybody of making things up or accusing anybody of not giving their honest opinion, but do we think that Leon Rose's relationships with not only players but with the media, a guy who's been a source for a lot of people,
for sure,
on a lot of levels, and now he's going to be running the most interesting franchise in basketball going forward right now in the New York Knicks. You don't think that has any impact on the media approach to this? And I'm not accusing anybody of any malfeasance, but you just have to wonder.
Sometimes it can be subconscious biases that you have.
It could also be subconscious. Like I said, a lot of people just know him. Yeah. We have people, on ESPN talking about Worldwide West, like, we go way back. I'm like, sure. I'm sure you guys go way back, but does that make this a good hire? Now, personally, I think these are good hires, so that's why I'm not super paranoid about people making stuff up, because if I feel it, then other people have the right to feel it as well, but it is something you have to consider.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Leon Rose and Steve Stout knew that, told Dolan that. Like,
This will
do
get
you
you
want to get the
depressed
media
too.
off your back? Because the media are the people that go to the fans.
They shaped. Now it's so interesting with the Knicks though. And, you know it a little bit, but me being a Knicks fan who kind of and a media member who kind of, I'm not a Knicks media member, but a New York media member who kind of steps in both lanes here. Like, it's weird because there are also a large segment of fans that totally reject the media
Right.
because
Don't
the
care what
media
they
is so negative because Dolan is so negative to them and bad to them according to them. So it's like this very weird relationship where like it's kind of odd to see the fans and the media, for the most part, cool with what just happened. At the very least, not like immediately bashing it. Like there's some people that are kind of having their concerns and saying whatever. But no, for the most part, I feel like for the most part they're like, oh, okay, this guy's everybody know. If you follow basketball, you know who Leon Rose is, and you know the kind of star power he attracts as an agent. So you're like, okay, it's at least making people hold, which is exactly what Phil Jackson did when Dolan hired him. It's exactly what he wanted, which is what you're saying. It makes a good point about Stout and Rose possibly pitching Dolan onto that. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this podcast segment, be sure to check out all of our shows on the New Generation Podcast Network on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher.